The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
This is Cowboys Storylines with Nick Eatman.
What is up? It is time for another Cowboys Storyline. I'm your host, Nick Eatman, but this is a different storyline. This is different than any other one that we've done since we started back at training camp in late July, because this storyline is actually officially game week. It is game week. There's no more off-season. Off-season is officially closed. It is a Tuesday. It's an off day, just like it normally will be here at the Star in Frisco. And it is time to focus only on this week's game against the Giants. Of course, I say that. We'll probably bounce around and talk about a lot of things because that's what we do here on the storylines. But the biggest one, obviously, is the game. Cowboys and Giants. Training camp has been long gone. The preseason is over. Roster cuts, roster moves, all this stuff. I mean, roster moves will always kind of happen, tweaking here and there. As Bill Parcells used to say, churn the bottom of the roster. Well, that'll always happen. But the focus, obviously, will be against the Giants and what happens here with any kind of injury setbacks. See, before, it's not that big a deal. We'll see, just as long as they get them ready for the Giants. But if something happens this week, it certainly magnifies things a little bit, like it did yesterday in practice, Monday at the Star, right when the media was leaving. Where media gets to be out there like 20 minutes maybe. So I would say at about 19-minute mark, Tyler Smith starts walking off the field. Didn't look too happy about it. Come to find out, looks like he's got a hamstring injury that will limit him probably this week. We'll see how it goes. Jerry Jones, Cowboys owner, GM, said on his weekly radio segment on 105.3 The Fan this morning, he'll do that every Tuesday morning. So always some storylines coming out of that. And the biggest one that he said, in my opinion, was just about the question on Tyler Smith and his availability for this week. He's going to have an MRI today, but it sounds like they're pretty optimistic based off of what he was able to do and how he was feeling as the day went on yesterday. So as it stands right now, it doesn't seem like the Cowboys are concerned about his status for the first game, but again, he's going to have the MRI, going to see how things are just officially and see what it looks like. But as it stands right now, fingers crossed, Tyler Smith should be able to play. That's at least what the hope is. And we'll see what the MRI reveals later on. But, yeah, hamstring injury, or at least a setback, hamstring tweak, you would say, for Tyler Smith, who plays left guard. And Cowboys can't have any issues when it comes to the offensive line because they really don't have a lot of depth. And when I'm looking at some questions here already on the text line, and again, we'll take questions on the text line. Obviously, take questions on the phone line. Last Friday show was amazing. You guys were all over the place there calling us. I think we counted 16 phone calls there. We went a little overtime to get those in. And then this is the time slot here that we're hoping for, 10 a.m. We're still kind of trying to see what Mike McCarthy's schedule on his press conference is going to look like. It might have to tweak a little bit, but we're hoping for this 10 a.m. Time slot. Phone call 1-888-855-2297. 817-290-3298 is the text line. We do have some text questions, and like I was saying, the offensive line seems to be where everyone's focus is, concern. And I'm with you there. I mean, that's where the backup offensive linemen they don't have a lot of depth there. And this is a position where you obviously need some depth. Jerry Jones did say that this morning, that every team in the league is looking for offensive line depth. That's why you don't see a lot of great linemen on the waiver wire. Just go grab someone. It doesn't happen that way because people aren't letting them go like that, just because you need offensive line depth, and the Cowboys certainly do. Got a question here from, actually, let's look at Pete. He's from Moreno Valley, California. So, do you think the front office will make a trade for an offensive line player soon? I don't know about making a trade. I mean, I think that they're exploring all options here. Like I said, though, who's trading offensive linemen? Who's said, well, we got a lot of tackles here, we got a lot of guards and centers. It just doesn't happen very often because everyone knows the one thing that you can really hurt your team is if you lose depth on the offensive line. Go look at the Super Bowl a couple years ago. The Chiefs, I guess it was Chiefs and Bucks. Tom Brady was playing there, but it was really the defense for the Bucks that won that game. And the Chiefs had like 3 offensive line starters out, and it just changed their whole game plan on offense. So that's the quickest way you can change the course of your season is to lose players on the offensive line and have some depth issues there. So that's kind of where I think the Cowboys stand there when it comes to the offensive line, and they're going to be looking for depth as it stands right now. Let's look at the depth. You're going to have, assuming Tyler Smith will play this week, and that's what, again, fingers crossed there that his hamstring injury will not hurt him there. Tyron Smith, left tackle. Tyler Smith, left guard. Tyler Biadasz, center. Say those 3 really fast. And then right guard, Zach Martin. Right tackle, Moneybags McGee over there, Terrence Steele, which he did his interview yesterday, and about 17 players walked by, show me the money, must be the money man, all that kind of stuff, and which is great for Terrence Steele. He's earned it. And I just looked out of the window just to see the empty practice field, just looking at an empty practice field. But there was one guy out there jumping a rope. Terrence Steele. I mean, just out there in the heat, ready to go. Ready. But that's what the offensive line starters look like. The backups, Awesome Richards, Matt Waletzko. The center, it could be the new guy that they have, Harlow, or Brock Hoffman. I would lean toward Hoffman. He's been here, understands the calls maybe a little bit better. Adoga, if he's healthy, that he's not on the injured. Injury report will come out tomorrow, but he has been injured, not to the point where they wanted to keep him on IR. But that's your offensive line depth right now. And so stay healthy, starters. That's kind of where the concern is. All right, phone calls time. It's time for a phone call. Conroe, Texas. We've got Richard. Richard, what's up?
Hey, Nick, big fan, long-time listener.
Thank you.
Love the new show.
Appreciate that.
I know the concern is offensive line, but mine is more the linebacker position after losing Overshown.
Okay.
So is it something that they address in free agency, or do you think this is roles that Curse and Marquise Bell fill out? I'll hang up and let you answer, but, man, I'm a big fan. I'm sure the break misses you, but I look forward to hearing your answer.
What? Well, thank you for the call, and I don't know if they do actually. If they miss me over there, because Patrick Walker's filled in nicely, and he's taking it to a different level too. So I hear some big conversations that they have over there on the break, which most of the time, and it'll include today as well. But it seems like the break will be following me, so I think I'm squeezing in right in between talking Cowboys and Cowboys break. That's a good spot to be in, those two shows right there. Another question that I had on that linebacker depth was Chris from Wichita Falls. He did a text line question about he sees the problem in the offensive line, but he's also concerned about the thin linebacker depth as well, just like you, Richard. So going to that would be number 2, I would think, on the list of concerns, just from a depth standpoint. But you kind of answered your own question, just because, the way that I think Dan Quinn will play it, the linebackers, they're not playing 3 linebackers on the field very often, if ever. I mean, so you really don't need 3. You don't need 3 backups for that. They're really playing 2, and some of those times will be, like you said, safety. I think Marquise Bell's going to get some time there. I think Israel Mukuamu will have a role. I loved what he did in the playoff game against Tampa, and that was kind of that was the beauty of Dan Quinn. I thought that game right there, because if you go back the week before the Bucs game, that awful game in Washington where they just weren't inspired at all, played horribly, got blown out by a quarterback that's never played, and it just wasn't a great game. And Mukuamu was inactive for that game, and then McQuamu was inactive. They're trying different things at corner. It's not working out. And then, but they knew all along what they were going to do. They made him inactive. All of a sudden, next week against Tampa Bay, here's Israel McQuamu, who's 6'5". He's got this wingspan of like a 9-foot wingspan. He's playing in the middle of the field, and I thought it kind of disrupted what Brady and the Bucs were thinking about on offense. So I just feel like that they've got things like that up their sleeve. It might be a week-to-week thing, but they'll figure out how to get the nickel and dime packages, and they'll get some of these safeties playing closer to the line of scrimmage, and they'll fix that linebacker position, in my opinion, that way. All right, go back to the phone lines. Steve in New York, what's up?
Hey, Nick, great show, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Just a quick question. I know not everybody, but a lot of people are okay with Zeke leaving. But I've been asking this since that day. The tough yards, the third down and short, fourth and short. Where do you see that coming from? Who's going to go and step in, or do they alter maybe what they do on situations like that?
Yeah.
Because I know everybody was kind of down on Zeke, but who was better at getting those yards than he was?
Well, what do you think, Steve? I mean, who would you give it to? Fourth and 1 against the Giants, midfield, middle of the game. The offense is going 4th and 1. It's a long one. What are you doing?
You see, I love Pollard, but I don't know if he's that guy. You know what I mean? As far as those tough yards, obviously I think he's going to be the guy, but I don't know. Zeke had a lot of those plays where he made a positive out of something that was probably going to be a loss, and I'm just concerned where they're going to get that from.
Yeah,
with the guys on the roster.
Well, you're not wrong. I appreciate the call. You're definitely not wrong there, because Zeke. One of the things that always concerned me about letting him go is that when did he get stopped? Like when did he really get stopped for 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2? I mean, he got it. Most of the time, he would get it, and maybe around the goal line, but he eventually would get in. He scored 12 times last year, so I'm with you there. I think the guy that's going to get most of the 4th and 1s or 3rd and the 1 yard, I think it's going to be Dak. I really do. And if you haven't, if you've done your fantasy league, whatever, I think Dak's going to probably score a lot of touchdowns running the ball. I think that's going to be what they do. I think that it's a copycat league. I think until the NFL changes the rule, I think people are going to push quarterbacks in the back like the Eagles were doing. And Jalen Hurts is a big, strong guy, but also, look what they're doing, and that works. I mean, that's almost unstoppable. I think Dak's going to get some of those carries. I think Pollard will get some. We'll see. Rico Dowdle just seems like he's got a little bit more power, but not a lot. Also, maybe not 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, but I do think you're going to see a little bit more receivers running the ball. Not saying that's your short yardage fix, but I do think they're going to go side to side. I think you'll see CD running. I think you'll see Turpin, Cooks, those guys. But when it's time to really run the football and get in there, I think Dak will do it, and I think they're going to try and see what Pollard can do. And who knows, Hunter Lipke might get a few snaps in there as well. All right, before we take a break, we're going to go one more call here. We'll go back to the phone line. Brian, Kansas City, what's up?
Hey, good morning, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Hey, I got a couple of backup questions now that we're getting into game week. So I'm not sure if Tyler Smith is out, I'm not sure who goes in for him. And, the other one I'm not sure about is who's not. So I think J. Lou fills in if Bland gets hurt. Who's the first up on the boundary corners? I'm just not sure who that is. And man, I'll hang up and listen. Thanks, brother.
Thank you. Don't make me say it. It's early. It's still like a Tuesday. Igbenogany, maybe. I think that's how you say his name. I've been working on it. Noah, Izzy, whatever. He's gonna have a nickname. Igbenogany. I think that's right. I would probably say he'll get in there. But again, this first week, I don't see Jordan Lewis being active. I don't think he's ready yet to be active for this game. So Deron Bland, like you said, will be like the third corner. Igby. And then, Eric Scott might have to play because you have Nashawn Wright He's not on the roster as of right now. The boot is off, but I think they moved him over to IR to return. So as it stands right now, I think Eric Scott or Igby would be the guys to come in there. And then the first question you said about if Tyler Smith doesn't play at guard, man, don't even go down that road. I mean, that shuffles some things around. I think you would see Brock Hoffman. He would get in there at guard if Chuma Edoga is not ready. So that's a good thing to monitor. Let's look at the roster moves for this week, and also we'll be able to see in practice on what they can do, because sometimes roster moves will tell you how a player is doing physically when they start moving guys around or signing guys up from practice squad or things like that. So let's see. We'll monitor that this week. A lot of it will determine from the MRI today that Tyler Smith has. All right, we're going to take our only break here on Cowboys Storyline. We'll be right back for more calls and tweets.
Fall is here, and that means football is back, bringing all the delicious game day foods with it. As you prep for all the big games, tailgates, and watch parties, let Yo Quiero be your one-stop destination for all things home gating. Yo Quiero's fresh, flavorful, ready-to-serve guacamole, made with real Hass avocados, will score taste bud touchdowns as you cheer on the Cowboys. Yo Quiero's wide range of mouth-watering and versatile products can be found in your local grocery store's produce or deli section. Grab some today.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
SeatGeek has your back no matter what kind of Cowboys fan you are. So whether you're a diehard fan or a don't really care fan, a we got 'em next time fan or we'll never win again fan, a here for the tailgate fan or a first one through the gates fan, SeatGeek not only makes buying and selling tickets easier than ever before, they made just about everything else easier too. So whether you're a here every week fan or haven't been here in years fan, SeatGeek has you covered. Download the SeatGeek app today. SeatGeek, your ticket to great Dallas Cowboys seats.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy, classic wings. Made to order, cooked to perfection. And sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. And, of course, spicy Cajun fried corn. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Back to Cowboys Storylines.
Welcome back to Cowboys Storyline. I'm Nick Eatman here. We got the second half of the show, and one of the questions we had, actually I'm pulling this up from a couple days ago, Pete from California, who just had another question. He sent me a random one. Here's a random player of the day to remember, and I love this because I love just bringing back former guys. He said, what about Scott Laidlaw? Man, now that's a blast from the past. That's like one of the first years. That's like early 80s, late 70s, like a backup fullback type guy. He had long hair. I think he played a lot of special teams. Might have blocked a couple of punts there. Scott Laidlaw. Cool name. But, Dorsett was the guy running the ball, so he didn't get a lot of totes there. But I love it. I love bringing back. Usually, I'll have a story for you, especially if it's somebody I covered. Sometimes these guys trigger different things. Oh, that was the guy that did this and this. But Scott Laidlaw, just a little bit before my time, but I do know number 35, running back. All right, let's go to the phone line. Alan from Montana. Alan, what's up?
Hey, Nick, this is awesome. Good to hear.
Thanks.
Your new show. Great fan.
Who's your random player? You got a random player?
Oh.
Favorite player?
I always liked Nguyen when I was a linebacker.
That Nguyen. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
For sure.
What's your question?
My question is, always looking for comparisons and stuff. We're, as football fans, we're horrible at doing this. But with the new offense, can we look at maybe something close to what 49ers a couple of years ago were running with their running backs? And even throwing in some Deebo Samuel.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, who would be that guy? CD? Who do you want to run the ball and do that with? Who do you think is the Deebo-like guy?
Yeah, and I don't know if probably the closest comparison would be Tony Pollard, but as far as on the wide receiver, I don't know if we have a young guy that would close be to that.
That's a tough one. I mean, I appreciate the call, and that'll get our wheels in motion there thinking about that. Like I said earlier, it is a copycat league, and you're always looking for that. But you got to find a Deebo Samuel. I mean, you got to find that guy. There's not many receiver-type guys that can run the ball that way. And I think that's what it's got to be. I think it's receivers that can run. Maybe not so much the running back that can play receiver and line up and go down the field and catch the deep ball and all that. I think if the Cowboys are going to do that, and they sort of have a little bit with CD, they've run the ball with him a little bit, but not a lot. And that's not – he's pretty tall. And I remember they did a pitch against Washington, and that press box is terrible. You can't see anything in there, but it was coming right at us. It was actually the one good view we had. And he just got smashed on the sideline. And I was like, all right, enough of that. Let him run routes. He's not a back. He'll do it occasionally, and that's good. But I think for the most part, you need a guy a little bit shorter, stockier. Maybe Brandon Cooks, but he's kind of thin and for his body frame. So I think if you can do it, great. But again, there's not a lot of Deebo Samuels out there. And his first comment about Dat Nguyen, what a fun player he was to cover, and kind of a funny story about him. I hadn't seen him in about 15 years. I had not seen Dat Nguyen in about 15 years. We did an interview with him just back in July. And he came up here. We did an interview. We put some stuff with him. We're going to work on a project with him maybe later on down the road. And then 2 days later, I'm at a Ranger game. A foul ball comes right next to us. I almost got it, didn't get it. They gave it to this kid next door. Dat Nguyen, sitting right next to me. So it's kind of funny. You see a guy twice in a couple of days. Hadn't seen him in 15 years, but he's looking great and doing really, really well for himself. Just business adventures and stuff like that. All right, let's go back to the text line here. Skip from Virginia. You're right, Skip, because I skipped a player that would probably fill in here, even though it's so weird because one of my favorite players on this team, rookie free agents, is TJ Bass, and I just kind of skipped over him. I apologize for that. TJ Bass would factor into this backup line. Maybe start at left guard. I say that because it's a little bit. I mean, anytime you're going into the Meadowlands, week one, you got a rookie guard. But hey, it happened last year, week one. I mean, you had Tyler Smith. Now he was a first round pick, but he was playing left tackle. It hadn't done it a lot, and he played well. So I mean, it's going to have to be somebody like that. You do have two rookies backing up, and Austin Richards and then TJ Bass, and so. You hope to not go that route, and then again, like I've said it 3 times already, we'll see on what the status is for the left guard of Tyler Smith, and he'll have a hamstring injury that he has this week. Today he'll have the MRI today. We'll see what his status is there. All right, looking for some more questions here. This is a 505 area code. Didn't put a name there, but still talking about Dexter Lawrence from the Giants. Other than neutralizing him, what's the biggest thing to worry about with the Giants defense? That is the biggest thing to worry about. So you want to, you start there and you start, and that's always, in the middle there, in the trenches. That's kind of where it all originates. And especially when you're looking at potentially, changes at left guard if Tyler Smith can't play. So it doesn't branch out too much more than that. I mean, they've got some cornerbacks there, that have played, and they're, they've got talent. The Giants, they're a scrappy team. I think what they do is they rally to the football well, and that's kind of what their coach preaches. I mean, they are a tough football team, but they have to prove to me that they've gotten better from last year, because the Cowboys were a better football team than the Giants easily. But I give New York credit for staying in those games, because I remember in the first game up in the Meadowlands, the Giants actually had the lead on a touchdown run by Saquon, and you're thinking, like, how is this happening? Like, Dallas is a better football team. They just shooting themselves in the foot, and they're dropping passes, they're penalties, and then once they kind of got it going, they took over and won that game. And then in Thanksgiving, they were way better. They had a big lead, and then they let the Giants kind of score late, made it look a little closer than it was, but it really wasn't. I think in those two games, Dallas was clearly better than the Giants. Let's see if things have changed this year. We're about to find out here in 6 days. But going back to that game, I think whenever the CeeDee Lamb documentary or Football Life or whatever, Deep Blue, whatever we end up doing with CeeDee Lamb, I think it's going to come back to that Giants game in week 3. I think that is the game that propelled him for being that guy. He was, the number one receiver. This is his first year doing it, first 2 games. With Dak getting hurt and Cooper Rush, he hasn't really elevated himself yet to that spot. And then he goes to Sunday Night Football, drops a pass over the middle. It was wide open. It could have been a touchdown. Like, what's wrong with this guy? And then it just clicked. You could tell he was pissed, and he started making catches, and he was trying to run over people, and, he doesn't have the body to do that, but he's trying. He makes a great touchdown, one-handed catch, and he became that guy in the game. That game, it started poorly, it had ended well, and it just ignited him to the rest of the season. He was a second-team All-Pro last year, and it was, I think it all came down to that game right there. So, all right, looking for some more questions here. We've got one from Jay Hen, Wichita, Kansas. He says, how dangerous do you think a NASCAR pass rush package would be? How often do you see DQ deploying such a package with all the pass rushers that they've got? So they do have some rushers, and a lot of that, I think the reason why people think that maybe Micah should move to linebacker some is just because it's why don't we just get our rushers on the field, the Sam Williams and the Dante Fowlers and Dorrance and Tanks, and then we can have Micah linebacker and all that stuff. But which I hear you, but I do think that Micah needs to be rushing the passer, probably from the edge. That's what he's great at. So as long as he's doing that for the most part, I'm okay switching it around now and again. But he needs to be getting after the quarterback, flip sides, sometimes over the center, whatever he needs. But I definitely think that he needs to be a guy that rushes all over the field. And then, if he plays some linebacker, great. I think Damone Clark's going to have a really good season. I think he might be one of those wild cards to really put this defense over the top this year. I think Gilmore, the addition of him, that'll help with Bland and, of course, Diggs. But I think Gilmore, Damone Clark, and, I still think Mozzie Smith is going to help this defense a lot, because strength is strength. And he'll figure it out. He's going to get good coaching. He's going to, and I'm not saying he's struggling, but he hasn't had that huge impact that you expect so far. He hasn't had the opportunity just yet. These preseason games, he's played some. He's not playing with put Micah next to him and see if his rush is a little better. Let's see if he does a better job inside. I mean, these defensive tackles, they need the outside guys just like the outside guys need the defensive tackles as well. All right. Let's look at George from Orange City, Florida. So I know it's early and not on the radar. How do you see the Diggs versus Diggs matchup if they meet? What are you saying here? Where is Diggs going to play Diggs? I'm kidding. We do play what is that? Late December. They're gonna face each other. Then they're going to face each other a couple times, maybe in the Pro Bowl again, maybe in another game, if the Cowboys and Bills were to ever do that. But they do play mid-December up there in Buffalo, and it will be cold, and it'll be I'll say it's going to be fun, but probably won't be. It's not a great trip, but it should be a good game, though. I mean, that'll be a good test because both teams will probably be fighting for some kind of playoff implications. There's two guys that know each other well. They work out with each other in the offseason. So I think that that'll be a fun matchup. I'm not sure if it's Trayvon will probably want to follow him all over the field. I don't think you do that all the time. I think it probably hurts your defense if you do that all the time, because you don't want to let people know what you're doing, what coverages you're running, and things like that. So, we've seen him do that. We've seen him go after Washington's Terry McLaurin, and he'll follow him, but not maybe for the entire game. But I think it'd be a great matchup because they know each other well, and you don't have to do a lot of studying for that game. You have to study what the Bills' offense is doing. But I think that from a quickness standpoint, now Diggs likes Stephon likes to line up in the slot some as well. So that might change what the Cowboys are doing. They have better slot corners, I think, than Trayvon. But you know that they'll go after it. It'll be fun. Of course, throwing the ball in mid-December in Buffalo won't always be the easiest thing in the world. So that's going to be one where you definitely got to get your running game going. But that's not the game in New York that we're really talking about. That's down the road. They do go to New York a little earlier than that, like in 5 days. Saturday we'll be heading up there to take on the Giants in the Meadowlands, and that's certainly going to be a fun one. It's not the first time the Cowboys and Giants have squared off in week 1, but it's the next time, and that's the one we're all excited about. All right, I think that'll do it for today's show. Quick and easy. That's what it's going to be. Stay tuned to our schedule to see if our time slot changes. I think it's still going to stay at 10 o'clock for this week, and then we'll see what it looks like. Maybe 10:15, 10:30. We'll see what McCarthy does with his press conference, but it's going to be in this area right here, and hope to that works for you guys. I want to get a little bit more phone calls than we did today, but this was fun. This was a fun show, and hopefully we'll keep the continuity going with this time slot. All right, for Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eatman. We will see you tomorrow on Cowboys Storyline.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?